Hello guys, so I wanted to talk about alternative energy and alternative lightning. I don't know what was the first, what was the second, and how it is all made up, because you have to always remember that they have all bases covered and they control all the alternative information that's coming out, because their agents are everywhere and they are there to set you up, to make you look like a fool, to trap you with half-truths, so you never assume anything, because everything can be faked. However, there are lots of these old photos and engravings which are basically saying that there used to be different types of lightnings in the beginning of the 20th century, in the 19th century, even in the 18th century. So we don't know how people lived then and why we are made to pay so much for our energy and how exactly it is produced. We even don't know if someone named Tesla really lived. We just have to trust their words on that. There are all these engravings and old photos and paintings about all these ships, lights, lampposts, which were not, and the methods of war, artifacts, which show different kinds of devices, different kinds of lightning, different kinds of engines, the ships with no propellers, the ships that had very bright lights coming out of them somehow. And you have to wonder how it all works and what they are not telling us. What the real purpose of all these old artifacts are, and what the purpose of the temples are. Like how it all works. Most likely there were lamps in the cities, on the top of the buildings, in the flagstocks, in just poles that had lights on them. The lights worked wirelessly and without oil. They worked somehow. They produced light, and they also produced motion. Some ships were iron cased, 1385. And you have to wonder about the purposes of all these constructions and how they depict that they had wars. It didn't look much like a cannon fodder. So the old temples, they said, were there either to produce electricity, energy, or they were used to charge people with energy. And a lot of rumors go around about Mercury. The current events. 6th of May 2019. During restoration of a church of a mature Yulian Tarsisky in Pushkin region of St. Petersburg, the workers found out mercury within the walls of the foundation of the church. This was reported on the 6th of May to the Committee of Nature. In Soviet times, the building was used as a dormitory for military men and the craftsman's workshop. The workers noted the emission of mercury within the walls and in the basement part of an old church at 15 p.m. After an hour, an emergency ecological service of St. Petersburg Ecostroy arrived at the scene. Initial analysis has shown that increase in the building of a total limit of concentration of steam of 7 workers and security guards which were on the site and were evacuated and sent to the hospital. The mercury was shown to be on the scale also emitting from building remains which are on the territory of this church. So this also deals with what is called Schumann resonance. It is an activity of creating a standing up electromagnetic waves of the low or super low frequencies between the surface of Earth and ionosphere. Saint Anne's fires at the churches and temples in Cambodia. So what were all these artifacts? What kind of models they built from gold that showed that they had airplanes? Columbian, Mayan. You see the reversed wings they only doing on the very modern planes. The Solomon's Temple. Okay, there is a video called Atmospheric Electricity of the 19th Century on all the continents, the elements of lightning, technology of wireless transfer of energy. See what's on the buildings in the old monochromic photos. These are the temples in Cambodia, Colombia, India. So it's engravings in the 17th century and so on and so forth. All these devices. Look at this guy. This is called Kenneth Copeland, the pastor. His eyes actually look like those mercury balls to me. It's like they split in a little mercury balls. He also has fangs on his teeth. I believe he looks like Tom Cruise dad to me. They both like airplanes. You know, the Top Gun guy. They also have something like their eyes turn white. Like they have this white glow around them. You cannot look at him and say that it's a human person. It's not a real human person, guys. You have to face the truth. So, I just wanted to say that they con us. And unfortunately, you have to remember that if they show you what they do in such places like Alice in Wonderland, so you will see the Mad Hatter there and you will say, it's always 6 o'clock and it's always tea time. So this mercury or these heavy metals, what they do to you, they lock you up in a repetitive, ritualistic behavior. And that's how they hook you up on drugs too. So basically how they make you a religious fanatic is they have to place mercury somewhere. Or mercury amalgam. So the mercury antennas, they attract waves a lot. So these mercury amalgams, which they use an antenna to attract waves. So these dome structures can be, as they claim here in the video, the dome structures can be devices that manage the three-dimensional electromagnetic waves. And this also connects to the immediate turning of living beings into stones. This is turning living beings from carb form of life into chromium silicon. So what are the domes and the statues of religious so-called value are really covered with? Is it gold? Is it mercury or an amalgam? How did a water pump system worked? back in the day, because they had multi-storied buildings, but they had to deliver water somehow. So they say that they have some pumps where the dome structures change the gravitation of water itself, and it rose from the depths. And several insects that cannot fly by the law of physics, yet they fly. And whether some structures were really to improve the work of the brain. Personally, I believe that when Jewish books or Jewish oral tradition say that they are going to rebuild the temple, I actually think that they are going to rebuild the human brain. So there will be this Messiah or whoever that will help to rebuild human brain that was damaged somehow, where people will manage to live longer. So there is also these tables that shows that different speeds of sounds of different compounds. So environment, speed of sound transference. So if you have a granite or tree, it will be around the same speed of sound transference. It will transfer sound. So granite, it's higher than in the air, and 12 times as high in diamond. So why the diamonds shine this way? They say it's because three-dimensional electromagnetic wave speeds up so much. And this is such what electricians know as Houdini effect. So this rune symbology actually mean magic, and magic is effect of visual images on the matter. And this has to deal with the ether, element called ether, which someone called Albert Einstein destroyed. Now, they claim that Albert Einstein was a Jew. I believe he was Austrian or Swiss. And there he was initiated into some occult that we only know that they inbreed. So they have sex and they have children with their closest relatives. It's just the rule in their religion. It's part of their religion. That's for one. The second thing we know about them is that they worship God of war. Therefore, it's logic that we see all the wars all around the world. And also they worship Mother Death, aka Skull and Bones, its spouse. of the god of war, god of thunder, god of war. And that's far we know. And this leads us to, at least me, I'm convinced it works this way. And this leads me to idea that Jews have nothing to do with this. Jews are just being set up by these creatures. And I also think that someone named Boris Johnson, the former now Prime Minister of UK, was actually a son of Albert Einstein, cross-dresser. And when I look at this Boris Johnson creature, I see this albino, inbred albino, and for me at least it's obvious that he's neither Jewish or British or English. He's something else. I think that he's either Austrian or Swiss. I was once stuck in an airport in Austria, and I had to be exposed at what they shown me at the airport. And for several hours in the airport they had all this big screen in the Vienna airport where they show these young teenage boys doing snowboarding, and they all looked like one. They all looked like this albino, yellow hair, no eyebrows, disgusting, unattractive. I cannot even call them kids, because they didn't look human to me. They didn't look normal, those Austrians. And I believe, I don't care whom they show as his daddy. I don't care if they show some fake family with face prosthetics, that he has a sister, that he has a father that looks like just like him. That I think that he's the son of this Albert Einstein. That's period, point blank to me.